My mom texted, "Don't call or come over. We're done." I replied, "Got it." By midnight, my phone was blowing up with missed calls and messages. It was 1:15 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was in my Boston apartment when my phone buzzed. It was a text from my mother, Patricia. I opened it, and my world just stopped. "Kelsey, after much discussion, we've agreed. It's better this way. You're no longer part of this family." I read the text over and over. The blood ran cold in my veins. No explanation, no phone call, just an execution. And then seconds later, a small heart reaction appeared on the message. The person who loved it, my sister Olivia. Drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. I'd love to know who's part of our community. I didn't cry. I didn't text back why. I didn't beg for an explanation. I just sat there, in the blue light of my phone, the words no longer part of this family echoing in the silence. The heart emoji from Olivia, my golden child sister, was the punctuation mark on 28 years of being the afterthought. They thought that text was an ending. They thought they were cutting me off. They had no idea. They had just cut themselves off. I opened my laptop. The clock read 12:01 a.m. For years, I'd been the family's silent financial pillar, the bohemian architect who quietly paid the bills for their perfect Beacon Hill lifestyle. I logged into my bank. The first item on my bill, pay a recurring wire transfer for $4,000. Destination, my father, Gregory. Memo, family support. The money that really paid the mortgage on their precious status symbol house. I clicked the link, cancel payment. A small box popped up. Are you sure I clicked confirm? 12:02 a.m. I navigated to the university tuition portal for Olivia's law school. That private loan I co-signed, the one I'd been paying off for her. There was one final payment scheduled. $15,000, cancel scheduled payment, confirm. 12:03 a.m. I logged into my credit card account, the family emergency card, the one in my name, the one Patricia and Gregory used for expensive dinners and new suits for my father, the one Olivia used for, well, everything. I clicked report card lost or stolen. A new card would be overnighted to my address. Theirs was now a useless piece of plastic. By 12:05 a.m., every financial lifeline I had extended to them for a decade was severed. I turned off my phone, I went to bed, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty. I just felt quiet. I know what you're thinking. That sounds cold. That sounds calculated. But you have to understand, this wasn't a snap decision. This was the result of a lifetime of being the scapegoat architect, while my sister Olivia played the role of the golden child lawyer. For me, criticism, dismissal, and demands. For her, praise, funding, and applause. Let me take you back 3 years. I got a frantic call from my mother, Patricia. They were on the brink of foreclosure. Gregory's consulting work had dried up, and they were months behind on the Beacon Hill house. They begged me for help, and I did. I agreed to take over their property taxes and the $4,000 monthly mortgage payment. In exchange, they told me I would be a silent partner in the family's assets. A partner. It was the first time they'd ever used a word like that with me. So I paid. Every month. Then 2 years ago, Olivia got into law school. A private, prestigious school. My parents announced they couldn't afford it. Olivia cried. And I, like an idiot, stepped in again. I'll cover the tuition, I said. $18,000 a year for 3 straight years. I paid it all, so my golden child sister could graduate debt-free and land her high-status job. My sacrifice was the invisible foundation they built their perfect lives on. And how did they repay me? With an invitation to Olivia's $1 million engagement gala for her new fiancé, Trevor? No. With a text telling me I was no longer part of this family. Why? Because, as my mother had explained last week, my bohemian architect lifestyle just didn't fit with the high-status corporate and venture capital guests they were trying to impress. I finally understood. There's a difference between having and being. My family's entire identity was built on having. Having the right address, having the right connections, having the $1 million gala. Their status was a hollow shell rented with my money. When you build your life on having, your greatest fear is someone who is built on being. My success, my designs, my talent was authentic. It was mine. And it was a threat to their hollow performance. They weren't just ungrateful. They were terrified of being exposed. They needed my money, but they couldn't stand my success. I turned my phone back on at 9 o'clock the next morning. It was a war zone. 43 missed calls, a flood of voicemails, and the texts were a masterclass in deflection. They weren't sorry. They were furious. The first one I read was from Olivia. "You're just jealous of my gala, Kelsey. That's all this is. Mom didn't mean it like that, and you're just being petty and trying to ruin my happiness." Jealous. She thought after all these years, this was about her party. Then came the text from my mother, Patricia. "We need to talk about what you've done. You've created a mess, Kelsey. The mortgage payment didn't go through. You've endangered this entire family. Call us immediately." Not, "I'm so sorry," not, "What have we done?" It was, "You've created a mess. I had created it." The final one was from my father, Gregory. His was simple, blunt, and dripping with the entitlement I'd known my whole life. "Your mother is a wreck. Fix this. Now." It was an order, as if I was a disobedient employee who had shut down a machine on the assembly line. I read those messages one after another, and I felt nothing. No guilt, no panic, just a cold, hard clarity. They weren't shocked by what they'd done. They were just shocked that I'd finally stopped playing along. They weren't apologizing. They were just angry that the ATM was finally permanently closed. I didn't reply to a single text. Later that afternoon, my phone buzzed again. It was a Facebook notification. My mother, Patricia, had tagged me in a public post. I opened the app, and there it was. A long, vague status update dripping with false victimhood for all her Beacon Hill friends to see. It's so sad when you give your children everything and they forget who raised them and the sacrifices we made. You try to build a life and they just turn their back. Family should be forever. Praying for peace in our hearts. I scrolled through the comments. "Oh, Patricia, I'm so sorry. Thinking of you. Some kids are just so ungrateful these days." She was painting herself as the victim while simultaneously trying to rally the public to our family name. That post, more than anything else, solidified my resolve. This wasn't just a mistake. This was a strategy. And they would never, ever see what they did as wrong. They had just given me all the justification I needed. My mother's Facebook post, that calculated performance of victimhood, clarified everything. This wasn't a family drama anymore. This was a business dispute. And all those family support payments I'd made. They weren't gifts. They were investments in a company that had just tried to oust its primary silent partner. I didn't just need a friend. I needed a lawyer. I called Caitlin. We'd met in a brutal structural engineering class in college. We bonded over all-nighters and impossible physics. Now, she was one of the sharpest and most feared family law attorneys in Boston. I laid it all out for her, my voice cold and factual, stripping all the emotion away. The silent partner agreement for the mortgage, the 3 years of $18,000 tuition payments, the texts, the disinvitation, the 1151 p.m. text. She was quiet on the other end, but I could hear her typing. When I finished, she let out a long, slow breath. "Kelsey," she said, and her voice was no longer my friend's. It was my attorney's. "This is astonishing. This isn't just immoral. This is a crystal clear breach of contract. They can't just disinvite their primary investor and expect the money to keep flowing. Their family status doesn't protect them from that." Her validation was like a steel rod up my spine. I'd spent my life thinking my feelings were an overreaction. Now I had a legal expert telling me my feelings were, in fact, grounds for a lawsuit. "So what do we do?" I asked. "We don't plead. We don't negotiate," Caitlin said. "We act. I'm drafting a formal notice." An hour later, a PDF was in my inbox. It wasn't a letter. It was a weapon. It was a formal demand outlining every single payment I had made for the last 3 years. The tuition, the taxes, the mortgage totaling over $300,000. It wasn't a plea. It was a bill. It gave them 30 days to contact her office and initiate a formal repayment plan. And if they refused, Caitlin's letter made the consequences clear. We would file a civil suit, we would move to freeze their assets, and we would place a non-negotiable lien on the Beacon Hill house. I looked at the letter, my name next to hers, on the letterhead. This was it. We weren't just cutting them off. We were collecting. Caitlin called back 2 days later. I was expecting a simple update, maybe a response from my family's lawyer, but her tone stopped me cold. It wasn't the voice of my angry friend. It was the voice of an attorney who had just uncovered something dark. "Kelsey," she said, and her voice was pure ice. "I was pulling your credit report to prepare the lien documentation. Okay, I found something that changes the entire scope of this case." My stomach tightened. I sat down. "What is it?" "There's a business loan on your credit file from 5 years ago," she said, "for $250,000. You're listed as the co-signer." The room tilted. $250,000. "Caitlin, that's impossible. I've never co-signed for anything that big in my life. I wouldn't even have qualified." "I know," she said. "It's in severe default. It's been in default for 3 years, Kelsey. This is it. This is why your credit has been destroyed. This is why your apartment application was almost denied, why your car loan interest rate was predatory. It's been strangling your finances this whole time." I thought about all the times I'd been rejected for a simple credit card, the quiet, burning embarrassment, the confusion. I'd just assumed it was part of the struggling artist life. "How?" I whispered. "I pulled the original loan application from the bank," Caitlin said, her voice getting colder. "The signature on the cosigner line. Kelsey, it's not your signature. It's a forgery. And it's not even a good one." The phone felt impossibly heavy. My vision narrowed. $250,000 5 years ago. The pieces clicked into place with a sickening final thud. That first foreclosure scare. The one my father Gregory had suddenly handled at the last possible minute. The one he said he'd figured out on his own, telling me not to worry about it. He had figured it out. He had walked into a bank, used my name, and stolen my identity to save his precious Beacon Hill house. This whole time for 5 years, while I was scraping by, while I was sacrificing my own savings to pour more money into their current mortgage, I was also being financially ruined by a secret defaulted debt he had tied around my neck. He didn't just ask for my help. He stole my future to secure his present. I finally understood. This wasn't about disrespect. This wasn't about favoritism. This wasn't a family dispute. This was a crime. They weren't just ungrateful, they were criminals. The forgery charge detonated the case. What started as a family dispute over money instantly became a criminal matter. Caitlin filed the evidence with the court, and the tone of the entire negotiation shifted from defense to damage control. My family's lawyer went silent. But the final blow, the one that truly ended it, didn't come from a courtroom. It came while I was in Copenhagen. I'd entered a sustainable design competition months ago, a passion project, a radical plan for a zero-carbon community center. It was the same design my father had dismissed as a hobby. I flew to Denmark to present it mostly just to escape the toxic air of Boston. I was in my hotel room preparing my presentation when my phone rang. An international number I didn't recognize. This is Kelsey. Kelsey, hi, my name is Maria. I'm an editor at Design Today magazine. My breath caught. Design Today was the Bible of our industry. Hi, I managed. I'm calling because your submission for the Copenhagen Prize, well, it's gone viral on our internal forums. Your design it's revolutionary. Frank, clear, sustainable, in a way that isn't just marketing. We're running a 10-page spread on it in our next issue. We're killing a feature we had planned just to make room. A 10-page spread. I was stunned, trying to process her words. We think your work is the future. We were getting so tired of all these corporate greenwashed projects. It's refreshing to see something authentic. In fact, the project we're killing. I think you might know the developer, a venture capital firm funding a new skyscraper in Boston. Trevor's group. I stopped breathing. Trevor, Olivia's fiancé. The $1 million gala at the museum was a networking event to celebrate the launch of that exact project. The entire reason I was disinvited, the entire reason my family shattered, was to protect the image of that project. And my design, my bohemian little hobby, was about to publicly erase it. Just as Maria was asking for my availability, my laptop pinged. A video call. My mother, Patricia. I told Maria I'd call her back and accepted the call. My mother's face appeared, and she was a wreck. Her eyes were red, her hair a mess. This wasn't anger. This was pure, unadulterated panic. Kelsey, thank God, she sobbed. You have to fix this. You have to call them. Call who, Mom? The magazine Design Today. Trevor just got a call. They're canceling his feature. Kelsey, they're running your project instead. Trevor is furious. He's threatening to call off the wedding. Olivia is a mess. You have to tell the magazine not to run your story. You have to do it for your sister. I looked at her, this woman who had disowned me, begging me to sacrifice my career, the biggest moment of my life, to save her other daughter's party. And I finally understood what was happening. This wasn't just revenge. This was justice. Not the loud, angry kind, but the quiet, inevitable kind. The justice of the sower. My family had spent decades pouring their resources into a hollow, superficial project, Olivia. They'd greenwashed her, propped her up, and built $1 million facade around her, all while treating my authentic work like a weed to be pulled. But you can't fake growth. You can't fake substance. My work, my seed, was real, and it had just broken through the concrete, My positive, sustainable creation was literally replacing their corrupt, fake green project. "Kelsey, please," my mother wept. "He's our future. You're ruining everything." I looked at her tear-streaked face on the screen. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel pity. I just felt done. "I can't help you, Mom," I said. "What?" "I'm not burying my career to save Olivia's party." I took a screenshot of the confirmation email from Maria at Design Today. I opened my text messages and sent it to my mother. Under it, I typed one sentence. I already did something for my sister. I showed her what real success looks like. Then I hung up and I blocked her number. I won the competition in Copenhagen. The firm that hosted it offered me a position on the spot, complete with a beautiful studio apartment overlooking the canals. The legal case back in Boston settled almost instantly. Faced with undeniable evidence of criminal forgery, my family's lawyer didn't even try to fight. My parents and Olivia signed everything Caitlin put in front of them, agreeing to liquidate their assets to pay back the $250,000 fraudulent loan and the $300,000 I'd given them all to avoid me pressing criminal charges. The Beacon Hill house, the one I'd paid for the symbol of their precious status, was sold at auction. The fallout was immediate. Trevor, seeing his future in-laws' financial and ethical ruin, called off the wedding. His firm couldn't be associated with the family-facing forgery allegations. Olivia was left with nothing. No fiancé, no million-dollar gala, no law school loan paid off. I was sitting in my new studio in Copenhagen a month later, watching the rain fall on the canal, when a notification hit my bank account. The money from the settlement, it was all there. I opened my laptop and found an old file, the spreadsheet I'd kept for years, meticulously tracking every dollar I'd ever sent them. Every family support payment, every tuition bill, every emergency fund. I stared at the final number at the bottom of the column. Then I highlighted the entire file, and I hit delete. That night, for the first time in years, I slept through until morning. No noise, no guilt, no 1:15, 1 p.m. texts. My story is over. But if you're watching this and you've ever felt like the scapegoat, the one on the fringe of your own family, this message is for you. Your worth is not defined by their inability to see it. Your value isn't something they get to decide. Stop waiting for an invitation to a table that was never meant for you. Go out and build your own. Build it so strong and so beautiful and so authentically you that their noise becomes nothing but a distant, irrelevant echo. If this story resonated with you, share it. You never know who needs to hear that it's okay to build their own table.